Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. This is Seeking Sustainability in Japan. And I'm so excited today to talk to entertainer, podcaster, super dynamic to Tiffany Rossdale. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much, JJ, for having me on your show. I've been watching your shows, and I'm really honored to be on your show.
I think you are the first Tokyo entertainer and transgender podcaster to be on the show. So I'm really excited. I've been listening to your podcast all day. I've been listening to interviews with you all day. I love what you're doing. I love your positive energy. I'm really looking forward to talking to you more.
Oh, I am so excited about this conversation that we're having tonight and live. I haven't done a lot of live interviews, so this is going to be exciting for me.
Yay. So hopefully we'll get some interesting comments and questions. If you guys are watching us live now, feel free to write your comments and questions. We'll try to respond if we can. Let's start with a little bit of background about you, Tiffany. So you grew up in the Philippines, but you came to Japan quite a few years ago. Is that right?
I've been here for a long time. I've been here in Japan for 20 more than 25 years, and I am originally from the Philippines. I was born and raised in Manila, and I left Manila when I was about 18. And then when I came here, I never went back.
Yeah. So you have you found it like I was listening to your podcast about November 20th, and that was a really powerful podcast. Do you want to explain a little bit about that and about talking about safety? Because you were talking about safety in terms of being transgender and how you feel about safety and happiness.
Right. Thank you for asking me this question. Yeah, November 20th is the International Transgender Day of Remembrance. And this particular day, it has been like set aside as a day to remember and commemorate the people who have been lost to anti-transgender violence. And this is the first time I celebrated Transgender Day of Remembrance by commemorating on my podcast one of my very good friend who passed away many years ago. She's also Filipina transgender, and she was living also here in Tokyo. And for many reasons, like we didn't know what exactly how she passed away. So it was quite tragic for me and for her family, for everyone in the community, although it was really not talked about. So I thought having this commemoration during the special day of remembrance for the Transgender Day is, I think, is really important to talk about. So by having that on by having that on my podcast, talk about have more awareness, I think is so important. So I made a special episode about the Transgender Day of Remembrance.
And that was so interesting to me to realize that you actually only recently started getting more involved with the LGBTQ plus community, right?
LGBT, yes,
Like
yes, yes.
for a long time you were working in entertainment, you were transgender yourself, but only recently have you started kind of becoming an advocate or an activist, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Because I when I did my full transition many years ago, I I basically have my different persona of being a, because I thought like having the full on surgery, completely a woman and feeling like a woman, I thought like why not have that persona of being a real woman and not be able to, I mean not to talk about my real gender identity. So um I did doing that, and I was doing that for many years because I've had many I have several situations that happened to me that when I was when I was visiting the states, I came to I had this a few incidents that happened to me that led me to think about I really should protect my, I really should have that um security of um I shouldn't tell my gender identity because it will cost me, it will put me in trouble. Basically, that's why I thought being my gender, I shouldn't talked about it to anyone. I should kept it to myself and maybe to people that knows that, I mean, my family, my really really close friends, and other people shouldn't know about it. And also the fact that being a model in Tokyo, I thought I'm not going to have a lot of jobs if I will have the, I mean, if I'm open and if I'm going to be, vocal about my gender identity. So there was a lot of fear. And yeah, I think those are the main reasons.
That's absolutely something that I think a lot of cis people like like me would just take it for granted. I mean, as a woman,
Mhm.
we're always
Mhm.
thinking about safety issues, and that's one of the things I love about living in Japan. That's some one of the thing I love about raising kids in Japan is it's so much safer. But it's something that transgender people struggle with, feeling safe and accepted, and are people going to find out? And it shouldn't be like that. And so I found that podcast really really powerful, and anybody who's interested, definitely check out Breakfast with Tiffany show. I love your title as well.
Thank you.
And you have recently started a really great YouTube channel as well. I
Yes, I did.
really enjoy it. You've only started just a month ago, right?
Yes, that was just a month ago, and I never really want to focus on doing many contents all at the same time because I think, and you know that, JJ, because it's gonna consume us a lot of our energy. We have to focus on so many things. So I thought focusing on my podcast first. So last year I was really focused on my podcast for 1 year, really just giving a relatable contents for my community and also sharing knowledges about health and wellness. Plus, being a life coach, I want to share my experiences in life. And last year also, most of my friends that I know is also influential, they're all in YouTube, and I thought like it's gonna be so competitive if I'm gonna be there. So I set that aside and I focused on my podcast. And then this year it finally happened that there were a few people that reached out to me that wanted to collaborate on YouTube. And again, it's all about timing. I think timing is everything. So it all came in the right time. And then the guests that I interviewed, they were so interested, and they were like also a good friend of mine. Like Sheila, you probably saw Sheila interview, and also Gao Chang. They're amazing people. And I think sharing a very I think in YouTube is so important to share not just stories but also visuals like people can can enjoy while watching it.
Definitely. And I want to talk about your talk with Sheila because I've interviewed Sheila in my show,
Oh, you
and
did.
I know that she is such an amazing kimono stylist, that she
Amazing.
knows how to mix and match a beautiful kimono. And when you interviewed Sheila, you were both wearing absolutely gorgeous kimono in that kind of unusual style. You've got this stylish hat with a leopard print on. Sheila, in very typical fashion, is mix and matching different colors. And she was talking about with your interview. You are such a great interviewer, by the way, Tiffany. I really enjoy listening to your interviews. You're doing a great job. But you were able to get out from her not only about a personal story about someone in her life that she really cares about who's transgender, and how she reacted as a parent, which is really important, but also about her perception of kimono and culture and feeling connected to Japan after so many years. That was really powerful.
Oh, yes, Sheila is such a very, very amazing woman, and just had an incredible opportunity to have met her this year. I think it was this year when I met her, got connected with her, and got to know more about her. And then I found out that she actually lives a couple of stations from where I moved out this year. Because I used to live in the central area of Tokyo, but now I live here in nearby where Sheila lives too. And we met, we talked, and I just thought that her stories are really powerful, and especially her one of her child who is also a member of the LGBT community. And also I met that child, and it was just like, like the um the connection and all these stories, like we can both resonate, and it all just came that, oh, we should definitely talk about this on the podcast too if you're interested. And she was just like so open about it. And the kimonos that we wore, I was wearing too, and she was wearing, like, she dressed me up, she styled me up, and she's she's an amazing her knowledge of kimono, not just kimono, but Japan in general, like what you said, is very is so much in it that she knows that I really learned a lot from that episode that we did on YouTube, which I'm going to release also on my podcast.
It's awesome. And I was very happy to hear Sheila talking about sustainability and kimono on your interview as well. That was great to hear. She's just full of so much information. I want to have her back and talk more. I could talk to her every day and still
I
be
know.
learning
Yeah.
something,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
I love when you're going through her closets and opening up all the drawers and all the different beautiful kimonos that she has
Mhm.
collected over the years too, right?
Mhm. 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 Yeah, the
But
privilege of having that having that access to, because we film it in her house. So I just told her, like, if it's okay to you to, like, show your closet, and she's like, of course. And then, like, yeah, that's just how it goes.
yeah, no, it's awesome. But her advice to other parents, I thought was really important. Um, and it's something that you probably deal with a lot as a life coach, right? You're you're open to working with people in the community who need some guidance on their transition or anything you can help them with their life, but also supporting the family members in knowing what to say, how to be receptive. And I found that really powerful what she was talking about, that she said she would never advise other parents to say it's just a phase. Like it's something she said and then she regretted it and she felt really bad, right?
Mm. Yes, exactly. I think what she shared that is really important for the community, because that's so important for us. And I mean, for me, I've been really open book since last year, and telling everybody, a lot of from the LGBTQ community, they still don't want to share everything, and it's all because of their safety. And not just their safety, also they really care about the people around them, like their friends, their careers. And not having that how do you say, not having that um they might lost someone because they came out, is really such a big thing for us. And I've been there, I've been to that in that situation so many times, that I think it's really important to understand that. And also, once we're ready, once the people in the LGBT community are ready to come out and share you the stories, know that it means that they really trust you. So it's really really important to not share if you know someone that they're LGBT, or yeah,
To let them say it, right? To let
exactly.
them
Yeah.
come out.
Mm-hmm.
In the series, I think it was last year, or beginning of this year, I talked to a wonderful person named Sage. And
Mm-hmm.
he runs a cafe, and he really wanted to make a safe place where transgender and LGBTQ people could come and get information and meet each other and just know that that was a safe place. And it was such a nice conversation. And he shared with us some of his vegan recipes as well. And We had a really great conversation. And I think it reminded me of a lot of the information that you're doing. You're trying to share information, but
Mm.
you're also entertaining, like by talking about the entertainment industry, talking about other things about Japan. In your coaching, you're also talking about fitness and wellness, right? Like
Mm.
having these conversations, which bring the community in and normalize the real experience, is really an important part of it, right?
So important. Thank you for saying that, JJ, because I believe that it is also, it is really important to talk about the LGBTQ, uh, um, my community. But if I am going to go deep, like, like very, it's gonna be like probably for other people. So it's gonna be a heavy topic, and I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be like a normal conversation everyone can relate and everyone can be a part of. And I think having conversation here and there and not just always talking about LGBTQ can also make things more, how do you say, light, in, like not like thinking about like, because people when they think about like LGBTQ, they think that, oh, it's going to be a deep topic, and like a lot of debates and all that. I don't want to be like that. I want to be more like more accepting to each and everyone. At the end of the day, we're all like the same community, and we all should be in one community.
Definitely. And it's all about we know you're here. We know you exist. So what do you do? I'm more interested on the next topic, right? Like you had a great conversation on your YouTube channel with Maria Gauchan. It was
Hmm.
so wonderful. I love that conversation. And you're talking about her, is it Scottish, Filipino,
Yeah, she's from Scottish and
Japanese?
Philly. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
Oh my gosh, like so many multicultural influences in her life, and
Hmm.
the communication between you, because both of you have worked in the entertainment industry. Both of you have had similar mentors who have given you advice in Japan in the entertainment industry. There were so many interesting points in those conversations. I love it.
Thank you for watching it. And Gao has been an amazing role model for the and, like being a foreigner and being on TV, or in the entertainment industry, is not really easy for us to be on on the main, how do you say, like being there and being seen with so many people and being so popular. And she made it through. That's why I want to share her stories and how she really um overcome all this like struggles from, because she's not even Japanese at all, but she grew up here in Japan. That's why she can speak Japanese as well, but her origin is Filipino and Scottish. So having her grew up here and learning all the culture in Japan really, and she applied it within her, and that's how she made it to be on the entertainment industry. So I think her stories are really important for other people to share, because I there's so many people that, especially foreigners, that wants to be break in the Japanese entertainment, but it's not easy. So sharing her stories, I think a lot of people can resonate with.
Definitely. I would love to hear how you broke into the entertainment industry in Japan. Before that, I just want to mention that years ago, the book that really influenced me, and I love this book. Have you heard of Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto? Now,
No, I
it's a
haven't.
really famous book, and it was published in 1987. So
Mm.
when I graduated high school, which I'm a bit older than maybe many in the audience, but in this book, it's such a famous story. And in the book, the girl needs a home. She kind of loses her family. And her friend offers for her to go and stay with him and his mother. And his mother is the most beautiful woman she has ever seen. And it turns out she's transgender and she works
Oh.
at a nightclub in Tokyo. And this is in 1987. a hugely popular book that everybody was reading. And so it remembering this, I wanted to ask you, have you found kind of more acceptance of being transgender in Japan versus Philippines or America, or is it about the same?
That is such a great question, JJ. And thank you for that recommendation of the book, by the way. I would love to read that book. So when I came here, it was actually during that time. It was late. Oh no, no, it was actually late 90s when I arrived here in Japan. So that book might have been a little earlier in that story. So for me, I think living in Japan and working in the entertainment industry as a showgirl, I think we are more accepted here in a way that that Japanese people respect, because that respect I wouldn't probably have gotten it when if I'm gonna stay in the Philippines and work in the Philippines. In America, I'm not sure, but in Japan, I think Japanese people are more respectful um and more understandable. That's why I think if we have these conversations about LGBTQ more, Japanese will it's not going to take time for them to fully accept the community. It's just it's not been talked about. So what happened was, like, ever since like 80s and 90s and 2000s, um they know that these places exist, like the showgirl, the where transgender people work, but they it's not really talk about, because it's more of like underground scenes. They know it exists, but it's not like, like, and everyone can talk about it. So that's why I really think it's so important to talk about it more. Than they will think that, oh, it's acceptable, it should be in a society, it should be, it should be talk about more than, and every time they go to places, because I've been working for many years as a showgirl and being a hostess too. Every time they go to these places, they all had fun, and that's what we gave entertainment, and they had so much fun, and they will never forget it, and they will come back again. And then they would tell us stories like, oh, we wanted I've heard stories that they would say like, oh, we saved money, and then we came back just to support you, and then we'll give you this tip. So it's really, it's really, for me, the experience living in Japan as in an entertainment industry, I think it really teach me so much, because I don't think I would be able to have that career in the Philippines if I was in the Philippines.
That's so interesting, isn't it? And I love your stories of, I want to learn more about your stories of the working in the entertainment industry, because that's such a unique perspective that I think a lot of international people living in Japan, we don't really know what
Mm,
that is like. Now, on the one hand, you and Gao-chan were talking about how polite the entertainment industry is in Japan, and she sometimes works internationally, and she's like, it just doesn't work in other countries. Like
mhm.
she said, in Japan you apologize and say thank you a lot,
So
right?
many
And
times,
it's
yeah.
normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you do that abroad, it's weird, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Like, there's so much differences between the Japanese culture, especially in the Philippines, which is so opposite. Because in the Philippines, is we are really cultured about American culture. So we really love American culture, and we never thought about Japanese culture. So everything, when I came here, when I learned all this Japanese culture, everything was a shock to me. It was really shocking for me to know all this culture, but at the same time, I love it. That's why I incorporated it in my daily life.
That's awesome. Let's give a shout out to some of the other recent interviews that you've done. You did a great talk on Tokyo Talks with Nick. That was really interesting. A lot about your backstory, and you're so honest. And he was asking, he didn't, mean to hurt your feelings or ask anything rude, but he was so genuinely interested in learning more about you and how you did your transition. That must have been hard conversation though, right?
No, but with Nick's podcast, it was really because before we started it, like he already asked, he already told me that um how okay are you to talk about everything. He's so nice to let me know that in the beginning, and I just told him I'm an open book, so I'm okay with everything. So whatever you want to talk about is fine. And then he said like I'm really gonna talk to you like deep, and I'm like that's okay. So and uh with I think his audience, a lot of his audience are male, I believe. That's why I think it's important to be there and be seen and have these conversations because um um a lot of our the situations that happen for trans women is there's so much of for men like acceptance and I've had although I've had rough, I mean, like really scary situations that happened to me in the past. I think in order for that to not happen again is to have these conversations um and and I mean like just like sharing the experiences I've had in the past. I think um they will learn more about the how how we feel or how we really um how how we can be a part of the community and I think there's so much to talk about between male and trans women that I like is there's just so much there that um that I think I need to do more in order for to have that awareness in order to have not that the not to experience other trans women because I think a lot of trans women and especially in America and South America get killed by men. So I think it's really important to raise our voices and share these experiences to to have that awareness.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of violence around the world happens because of ignorance against people of a
True.
different race or people of color are attacked just because people are ignorant that they are different than them and they don't hurt like them or and I think there's that misconception also of trans people and it's a choice or you're tricking me. People might get upset because they feel like you've tricked them.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
you talk about with the conversation with Nick, one of the things that really hit me was you were in love with someone and it
Yeah.
was really difficult to know when to tell them, right? When to make it clear, even
Mm,
though you don't have to. There's no
mm.
reason that you have to, but you wanted to do it in terms of being honest, right?
I I think that was one of the relationships I've had in my life that really woke me up to that it completely changed me. So that relationship was my dream relationship, and I thought that being vulnerable and if I'm gonna be honest, I think uh, at the end of the day that they will understand me. I mean, that person will understand me more, and if it's real love, they will definitely understand me even better. But it totally it didn't came out the way that I was expecting. So that was a big shock for me. That um, at the same time, it woke me up to my core that I thought I need to do something that I probably need to I mean, like, during that time, I was thinking, "What's wrong with me?" Like, I was being vulnerable, I was being honest, and I want this relationship to happen, but it didn't work out, and that person left me. But at the end of and realizing after, it really meant to happen because that helped me, um, uh changed that was the start of my transition of quitting alcohol and being healthier and learning a lot about that's where my life coaching started. I started learning life coaching because I needed it for myself. I never thought I should learn life coaching because I needed to give it to somebody. I thought I need to learn life coach because I needed it for myself. And that's how it all started. I spent time in Bali for a month, like going to retreats, and I I finally I mean, like, I realized that so much of my childhood traumas and experiences when I was a child that happened to me, that I needed to heal. And the healing process began. And I thought that if I didn't met him, I wouldn't probably change. I would probably be the same person as I was before. But it's because of him I completely transformed, and I transitioned. So for me, it was really even though, like, that wasn't really that relationship didn't work, but for me it worked in a different way, that it opened up a different world. Or I mean, my like, the self-love and the healing process that I need to heal, and all that, like, happened after that relationship. So I was thankful that I met him, instead of I never I would never think that he left me because he found out about me. I am now really grateful that I have met him. It's because of him that I made it into transform and became the person that I am today.
That's a beautiful way to think about loss and hurt, and use it to your advantage and learn from it and grow from it. And that's such a beautiful story. Let's talk about your coaching, because you were also talking to Nick about the coaching, and I'm showing your website right here. So
Thank
you
you.
offer online coaching. You started podcasting as well during coronavirus, because we're stuck at home. So how has the coaching been, and what is your coaching philosophy?
So thank you for sharing that, JJ. So I started my coaching. I realized it that I think, I mean, like, the realization all came when it when the COVID happened last year, because my former job was doing a lot of events. I was working as a PR and marketing for a company that I was helping out, and also promoting for inbound tourism, and as well as doing concierge service for elite travelers are coming here in Japan, and all that is related to COVID and all stopped. And I was thinking, what should I do? What can I do during COVID? And it all came out to me that the 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 things that I've learned in coaching, that I can actually give it to people who needs it to, because it completely changed my life for the better. And I thought if I can share it to my community, the LGBT community, they would also surpass that struggles or um, situations that happening in their lives, because I can definitely resonate to their the situations that's happening in their lives, right? So I thought, but in Japan, I thought, like, I needed to be certified. So last year, I took the test, and for several months, and then I got the certification for life coaching, to have that at least, like, to show Japanese, because Japanese, they love, certification, and you have to be certified. And that's how I did it. But and then I started doing retreats. And retreats also is another thing that I didn't see here in Japan. I thought, why not have a retreat where we can focus on wellness and fitness and the foods that we eat, and also incorporate my coaching about life in general. And that's my that's how I think I've done. Yes, landscape. Thank you for sharing that. I think I did it twice already, and I'm hoping to do that more. But it's still not easy to do. It's still not easy to do during COVID, because you have to gather people. So it's quite challenging. But hopefully next year I'll be able to do the Zenscape Wellness Retreat more. And my focus is to really help my community, the LGBTQ, for to have that wellness, to have that balanced lifestyle, and because it's really tough, and it's really tough for us. Um, and I've been there. I've been there. I know how it felt. I know how to be in their situations too, so I can really understand what they're going through. So I can share that to them, and I can have this, like incorporate this wellness and being healthy and being happy, being just balanced in general. So that's the concept of my coaching and my retreats that I started doing last year. And to gain more awareness is by doing my podcast. So that's like my weekly podcast where I share not just the stories about the LGBTQ community, but also the health and wellness, and yeah, anything related to that too.
Yeah. It looks amazing. And what a great idea. And maybe because of your connections with the entertainment industry, but you have so many wonderful collaborations. Like your opening music of your videos is this beautiful koto playing music. You have in your podcast, who is it that's doing the announcing? It's fabulous. Announcing Tiffany Rossdale. I love it.
Yeah, you're definitely right, JJ. Because I'm so blessed to have like amazing connections in Tokyo from the entertainment industry. So I will just like reach out to them, like, hey, you want to collaborate? And I've had this amazing voice actor, which is also my sensei for my acting. I told him like I need an ad lib for my podcast, and he was willing to do it for me. So yeah, he was an amazing in doing that. And also that koto music from my um promo videos, and also all the people that I collaborate and my team. I think I'm just like so blessed to have this connections, and um being in touch with them, and also like sharing contents to each. I mean, like, being creative. It's a part of me, and I love doing it.
Awesome. Anybody who loves Audrey Hepburn has got to watch your Breakfast with Tiffany show promo video. Do you have a collaborator who's a filmmaker? I love that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I already had the idea of doing the same kind of um mimicking the Audrey Hepburn's Breakfast at Tiffany movie, where she came out from that cab and going to Tiffany's store and having having that breakfast while watching the window in the Tiffany store. So when I talked to my filmmaker collaborator, I gave him all my ideas, and he was just like, "Let's definitely do it," because I think that's amazing. So, and then I've also had another, um, kind of like he's kind of like advisor. Oh yes, that one. And it just, it's funny because it all came at the same time, and with collaborating with these people, because I've never some of them I've never been in touch in a while. And when I told them about like I wanted to do this, like content on YouTube, and they all just came in the right timing. And that's the result of that amazing video promo of the Breakfast with Tiffany show.
It is so good. And you're putting your true actress skills to the test here. But if you watch the original Audrey Hepburn one and you watch yours, it is so closely matched. Good job. Really well done. I love
Thank you.
it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we kind of like also do like, let's make it really old, like, like 60s style.
Yeah, it was great. It was perfect. A perfect match.
Thank you.
Fabulous. So you're a fan of Audrey Hepburn, I could imagine.
Who is not a fan of Audrey Hepburn? She's amazing.
Yeah, so good. Let's go back to some of the other interviews that you've done. You did a great interview with the Enjoy Diversity Rocks Innovation with Jackie Steele. And I learned a lot from that interview as well about um, about your past, and officially you still have not changed your gender. So sometimes uh, you'll have to give your passport, and it's your old self. Is that right? It's must be very confusing sometimes for you.
Yes, it is. um, I really wanted to change my gender mark on my passport because I've had a couple of times a situation in the airport, um, going to the U.S., stopping by the immigration, asking me so many questions because my gender mark was, of course, is male, and even though my photo is the same as me, they would still ask so many questions. And luckily, after a while, because I've been going to the States a lot, so I guess they probably had that, like, record already. So they, after a while, they would not really like interview me anymore. But during the beginning of my travelings in the US, it happens quite a lot that they would stop me and they would ask me so many questions. And it's quite embarrassing because there's so many people, like there's so many people lining up, in the immigration, and all of a sudden, like, they put you in a different room. And then, and sometimes they would check all your bags, what's in your bag, and like and also my phones and all that, like, who are you contacting here and all that. So it was quite um it was quite really not not really good when I was traveling during my first few travels in the States. And in other countries, I didn't have any problems. But I think if I have that um solve is, and the only way I can solve is if I become a Japanese citizen, because in the Philippines we still don't have that. Even though we transition, we complete the surgery or whatever, we still don't have the law that we can change it into female. So there's no way in the Philippines I can do that. So I have to give up if I'm going to change my passport and my gender mark, then I have to be Japanese citizen. I have to have Japanese passport, and I have to get rid of my Filipino passport. And I still don't want to do it because I don't want to lose my I love my country, the Philippines, and I don't want to lose that in me. So although I'm in a process now to change it, but yeah, sometimes I think, like, should I really do it or not? So I'm still in that position.
I was reading an article by Human Watch Network talking about the problems, even in Japan. It's wonderful that you can change your gender officially, even for Japanese people, but there are a lot of people arguing that if you don't get the surgery, you can't. Like, there are some very strict rules, even in Japan, to get that permission to change gender. So it still creates a lot of prejudice towards people who don't get the surgery or don't do something that's in their five rules. But for you, you have probably qualify for the five rules, but having to give up your own country's passport, that's a huge decision, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. It is. That's really why I'm still not, I could have done it like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, because I know that I can. And they told me that living in Japan, if you're in Japan for 10 years already, you are also you're qualified to apply for a Japanese citizenship. So I already knew it, but that's stopping me because, it's quite a big deal. Like, it's my own country. I love my country.
Yeah, I understand that. Let's talk about your other entertainment work. So you have been in big events in Tokyo for a long time. Recently, we were on the same event for Few Japan,
Hmm.
uh, for empowering women Japan, and you have been a DJ for a long time. You played some great tunes before that event, but some of the bigger Tokyo events, like, is it Fashionistas that you were
Tokyo
a
Fashionista, yeah.
DJ for? Yeah. What was it like being a part of that DJ scene? Did you enjoy that?
Oh, I love it. So the Tokyo Fashionista is I started doing the Tokyo Fashionista events more than 10 years ago. And the concept of that event is to have a network of, gather all this um, uh, people, Japanese people and expat community come all together and then have fun and, enjoy. So I also put in the fashion shows, the DJs, the musics, like, like singers and, the dancers, and all about entertainment, because I am an entertainer. I know if I'm gonna put a good entertainment, people will love it. So everyone loved it, and everyone loved Tokyo Fashionista, and such a fun community of people coming in. And although back during that, when I was hosting Tokyo Fashionista, I didn't really um, included I should have included like LGBT community, but I wasn't out yet during that time, so I didn't focus on LGBT community. But yeah, that was really fun of having um connecting all this expat community, and also people from around the world, even people just like coming in and visiting town, and they get to come to the parties, and they really enjoyed it. And I love playing music. I love playing 80s, and like all this uh, good vibes from the 90s and 80s. Those are my favorite era of music. So I love when I DJ, I play a lot of that type of music. And yeah, like with the few, I am also had the opportunity to DJ in the beginning for the one of their Bonding Kai events, which led me to become one of the board of directors this year at on FE on FE Japan.
That's wonderful. And it's fabulous to have diversity even amongst the women in Few Japan, right? Like it's and that's the whole concept of diversity and inclusion is once you start lifting up any marginalized group, it lifts up everybody. It helps everybody in terms of discrimination or acceptance, right?
Yes, yes. And even if I advocate more for my community, the LGBT community, I still definitely support the women empowerment. And I think we need to have our communities together to bind as a whole, and to stop all this discriminations and harassment that is still happening around the world. And with that, I think we can achieve gender equality, diversity, and inclusion. And also, the most important thing is to have safe spaces for everyone.
Definitely. So important, and so important to have a wider net in our community, right? To include not just this small group of people, but we're trying to include everybody and lift everybody up. I love that. I was looking at your, is it Instagram, and a little bit about your acting and modeling, and you were doing a lot of hard fitness. How often do you work out? You look so beautiful and fit. Fitness must be a big part of your day to day, right?
Thank you for asking that, JJ. Yes, I think one of the most important things that I've learned to be healthier, is to have my own time in the morning just for me, for myself. So my morning is mine. I will never do anything in the morning besides doing things that I have to do for myself. And that's my morning ritual is everything. I think having a morning ritual is so important. So my morning goes like having my meditation, having my journal, having my yoga practice, or I would go out for a run. And then after I complete all that, then I would start doing my day. Because I believe that if I had that time and give myself that time in the morning, I'll be more productive. I can do more, um, and help others and do many things. And I can be more active and more more productive in general. So I believe that having that morning me time for myself is the most important thing that I need to. I mean, not I need to do. I love doing too. So yes,
Yeah. And having that routine where this is something you do for yourself every morning, right? At set time every day, and you keep it up and you feel better because you do it. You can have more productive day, right? It's awesome. Now, part of your fitness recently, which I listened to your podcast, is plugging. You want to tell us about plugging?
yes. Thank you for asking that. Yes, plugging. I don't think a lot of people know about plugging, but this plugging is started. Um, Plugging means a combination of jogging while you pick up litters. So it started in Sweden, and the guy who who started doing it is named Eric Alstrom, and I didn't knew about this. So I love jogging. I love running outside, and one of the places that I always go jog in is, you know how beautiful the rivers by the by the um there's so many rivers in Tokyo, right? Like I would go out and jog around the rivers, and I would always see some litters, like, the cigarette butts around, and knowing that the rivers are so beautiful, and there's so many koi, the fishes, and also the ducks in the rivers, and how clean the river is. And then you see those litters, small litters. I mean, in Japan there's not many litters because it's so clean. But when you notice those cigarette filters or cigarette butts, like, around, I felt like, why people just leave it here? There's a chance that it can go to the river, and those poor animals might eat it or might consume it. So I realized that maybe one day I should just probably pick up stuff. So I brought some plastics with me, and I would, whenever I go run, I would pick those some, I mean, like, litters around the river. And then, doing that for quite a while, I was I was it I don't know how it happened, but I just came in on the net with the word plugging, and I'm like, why? There's a word for what I'm doing. And then that's how I realized that there's this been happening around the world, especially in Sweden, uh, that they have this movement of plugging. And I was just like, oh wow, that's amazing. I don't think we have it in Japan yet, but if there's a way, because I already reached out to the one who started it, Eric Alstrom, and he was really so nice, and he replied to me well. And I think if there's a way I can collaborate with him with doing this in Japan, I would definitely want to do it, because imagine, like, you're also, besides you're helping clean the environment, and you're also being fit. I mean, like, jogging and picking up litters isn't that an amazing idea to
Yeah, well,
do?
you were talking in the podcast, you're burning more calories.
Exactly,
You're
you do.
using up more energy, you're bending down, you're using more muscles, like it's better fitness. You're helping clean up the waterways, get the plastic or cigarette butts out of there. I love it. We in Hiroshima, we do a cleanup once a month along the
Hmm.
rivers. We find so much stuff. But there's a group from Patagonia, that great ethical
Yes.
company
Hmm.
Patagonia, and they go out every month and they do plugging. So I
Oh,
know
they
that
do.
there are groups that do it in Japan. It's a great idea. Fitness and environmentalism together.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it too.
It's wonderful. We just have about 5 more minutes, Tiffany. Is there anything
Hmm.
we haven't talked about that you want to talk about? Is there like a message to people who might be interested in your coaching, maybe?
Oh, thank you so much for this, uh, JJ. Um, First of all, I would like to say thank you again so much for giving me this amazing opportunity to be a guest on your show. I'm a big fan of your show, and I love watching all this. I love s- if there's a way we can save our planet, I will definitely do it too. And I believe that's what you're doing. You're doing your work in order for us to have a healthy environment. And I really, really applaud you for the work that you do. So I am definitely going to support you whenever you need anything. Just let me know. And with my coaching, if you're interested, you can reach out to www.tiffanyrossdale.com. Message me. I also have my retreats. If you're in Japan, I also host retreat. I will host retreat. I promise next year more than that I did, because I only did one time this year. And hopefully, like, the COVID will not gonna be, like, we're gonna be okay next year. So then I'll be able to host a lot of retreats. And if you are on YouTube, watch my show, Breakfast with Tiffany show, and also my podcast. I do it every week. And again, thank you so much for this amazing, amazing opportunity, JJ. I really appreciate it.
Of course, it's wonderful to have you on the show. And when we're talking about sustainability in my book, you cannot separate the needs of people and the needs of the planet. And so talking to you and talking about inclusion and diversity and accepting all people, even if it's someone who's very different from you, that's so important in terms of having a planet in the future and having a place I want to live in the future, right? So I really appreciate what you're doing. And I get so much energy from you and your podcasts and your talk shows. So please keep up the good work and know that you have many fans as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's wonderful. Yeah, so everybody have a look at Tiffany Rossdale. You are also on Instagram. You have a really big following on Instagram and a very different name. What is it? Tokyo Hari?
That was my DJ name before. I used it a lot when I was DJing. So yeah,
Okay.
Tokyo
Yeah,
Hari.
I was trying to put it together. Do you ever do DJing? I guess this year there's not many events, but I hope to come to a club and listen to Tokyo Hari sometime.
I wish I'm really hoping that, with next year we can do even just like small events. I would definitely love to play a DJ on the few events that we're gonna host next year. Hopefully, in person, not like well, I mean, like, it's fun to do online too, because seeing people like you're in Hiroshima, so we get to connect, right? But it's I think it's also will be nice if we can do at least once a year to meet each other. You coming from Hiroshima will be great too.
That would be great. And I would
Mm.
love to invite you down to Hiroshima. Let's
Would
do a
love
big
to.
wellness, fitness, and DJ event at the same weekend somewhere in beautiful nature somewhere. I would
I
love
would
that.
love that. I would love that too, JJ. Let's definitely work it out next year.
Let's do it. As
Mm.
long as, COVID restrictions are a little bit eased, it's a bit safer to travel.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
was also really interesting. You've worked with travelers, right? You were talking about working in the tourism industry as well. You've done
I
so many different jobs. Amazing.
yes, I used to be working with the Airbnb. They hired me to be one of the first ones to host for the Airbnb experiences. They hired me to be the nightlife expert for the first year. So I was working with I had that experience, and also after that I did on my own, and I focused on elite travelers. Like, a lot of them are VIPs and CEOs, and I love doing it. I love showing them, like, an amazing time here in Japan, because I know Japan. I've just, I live here, and I'm just blessed to have the opportunity to live here and have all this access and all this people that I get connected with. Like, now I have a connection from Hiroshima. So
Yeah, definitely. And I would love to see maybe you add that as we see tourism come back next year,
Mhm. Mhm.
to add that to the LGBTQ community, like so
Mhm.
people know that you are a Tokyo guide and, there's that connection too. I think that'd be
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah. Well,
I would
thank you
definitely love
so
to do it.
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so
Well,
much,
that's our
JJ.
hour. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Tomorrow, also at 5 o'clock, talking to a travel social media influencer. She is on YouTube and Instagram a lot under Where's Next Japan. So we'll be talking to her tomorrow. Please join us again tomorrow at 5 p.m. for another edition this week. So wonderful to talk to you, Tiffany. Have a great night.
Have a great night too. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Take care.